Dad bought a dog bed for his office for Ari to
For
sit
which
on.
dog? For
It's
the
for Ari to
babies?
sit
For
on.
Ari?
Yeah.
So Dad is he feeding him from the table also, like cutting up your food like Dad used to do for Dutchies? You remember when we would be like finishing one of Mom's like kind of gross chicken hamburgers, and you'd like look up for a moment, and Dad would have taken
Hamburgers
it,
are kind of gross. I don't like them.
and Dad would have taken it off your plate and start cutting it up and feeding it to the dog if you didn't eat it fast enough. Mom would get so mad. Here we are at another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This episode is going to be a catch-up episode. You just have the three siblings. Actually, not just. You have the original three siblings here. No guest this week. We wanted to take a moment to catch up with each other.
Wait,
and
the original three siblings, as if there's like further siblings
Well,
that
they're
are
in-law. They're in-laws.
well, they're the
Oh,
in-laws.
okay.
They're the in-laws.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, sorry.
But yes, the original three siblings are together. Which I think it's real. I love. We've had so many amazing guests, and we have some awesome ones coming up. But it's also nice to reconnect with the three of us, and go over some of the stuff that we've been talking about, catch up on things we've been watching, on the Tradesies, which I think we already have updates on. So I hope people go back and listen to the last episode and check that out. But first, let me welcome my sisters, who I am very jealous of right now because you are in the same room together in Philadelphia, and I am missing out the fun. I'm having some serious FOMO right now. Lily, how you doing?
I'm great. I've had like the best time ever. This has been awesome. Being in Philly in the snowstorm, hanging out with friends and family. It's so good to be quote unquote home, back on the mainland. It's really, really fun.
Very cool. And Beck, how you doing?
I mean, I currently have someone else holding my baby, so I'm pretty good.
That's awesome. My children are being watched by a combination of Alexa and the television.
It's amazing.
Yeah, they can just
It's like your dream come true.
they just talk to Alexa all day. It's instead of terrorizing a parent. Alexa, tell me a joke. Alexa, what day is it? Yeah. It's Alexa, play songs from the Descendants. It's but I mean they absolutely abuse that thing. I mean, it kind of proves, like in the Matrix, in the backstory about the Matrix, what the people do to the machines that make the machines rise up against them. Like, I would not be surprised if Alexas just turn on all of the children in the world that just bark at them all day.
It's an amazing theory and a better premise for most movies.
Right. Haunted Alexa is going to be the next Paranormal Activity. So this is our catch-up episode. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to kick us off by going just down a list of things I want to talk about that have been on my list to update you guys on. And really, the first thing that I want to get to that we just don't talk about enough is I really want to make sure we reach out and say thank you and hi to cousin Vanessa. We just don't talk about her enough on this program.
She feels neglected.
I
She feels-
miss her.
Well, she's like, I feel like it's so rude to do this, but is it? Should we rate our fans? Is
No,
she our
you
number one
cannot
fan?
You cannot
I
rate
think
the
she's
people.
our number one fan. So, hi, Vanessa.
Cannot rate the people who listen. We cannot play buy, rent, or meh with the people that are kind enough to listen to
I'm
this
buying
program.
Vanessa over and over.
But cousin Vanessa is our most loyal listener, and I get a kick out of saying hi to her on every episode. So, hi, cousin Vanessa. Now, the other thing I want to address in terms of people listening to the podcast is that I got my first ever serious complaint about the podcast.
Oh, what
So
happened?
exciting.
What
All
And
press is good press.
And I want to share it with you. So I got a complaint from a loyal listener who said that recently that the three of us, so this is directed at the three of us have been too polite and nice to each other. I think that the amount...
Do you think it's because we've had guests on?
I think some of it is that we don't want to...
because we have guests.
Some of it is that we don't want to misbehave in front of other people, right? We invite people to come on. We don't want to look like a bunch of jerks. But some of it is that we've been doing this so much that we're almost like we're getting a little too refined. And it seems that something that is interesting to people is when we're like just a tad mean to each other.
Well, I feel like on the last episode, I wonder what this person would say about Coco, because I feel like I kind of was like, with you, I feel like I was making fun of you a bunch.
Me personally?
Yeah, like I was like giving it, like jabbing at you a little bit.
I was specifically told that we said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to talk too many times?" So I guess there's people want more interrupting. I don't know. We'll have to.
I feel like it's like a bit worrisome if you say this in front of Becky, because now she's gonna be like carte blanche.
Yeah. I mean,
the nails are coming out.
I spent so much time in those first few weeks of recording, trying to rein it in so that other people could talk.
No, I think you should still rein it in, but I think people want to hear.
I think you should also still not be mean. So Becky, don't change.
Well,
Just stay the way you are.
I think you're also underdressed to record an audio only podcast. So like
underdressed. Becky and I had a hilarious interaction. I have to just share it now that Becky brought it up. You can edit it out if you want.
No, this is the catch up. This is what I want to hear.
But like, it's like so mean. So whoever, it's so mean that like whoever that listener is that you're keeping private, and I do think you should just say their name, because I feel like we should embarrass our listeners. So just say who that person is, call them out.
People.
And so whoever that person is will definitely walk that back after the story I'm about to tell, because Becky and I were so mean, but it was so funny that neither one of us could help it. So the day that we both arrived, from overseas, Becky from the other side of the country with our respective tiny children, and like we had really long days and we were tired, and I arrived first. So my dad picks us up right from the airport. We go into the parking lot of the building, and it's like so nice that my mom decided to come down and meet us at the parking lot so she could say hi to me.
Wait, you realize the three of us are here. You don't have to call her my mom, right? There isn't a third person. There isn't a fourth person you're telling the story to, right?
I guess, but like I'm just used to being so close to the listeners. I guess I'm telling it to the listeners. But I'm actually
listening because I'm laughing so hard. I'm just crying remembering.
I will say that when Becky and I, anyways, we were laughing so hard about this after we were crying. So Mom comes down. I want you to have this image in your head. Mom comes down to the parking lot to greet me from the trip and everything, and she comes down like her hair was like in all different directions. That's the best way to describe it, with like a tiny braid in the back.
Tiny braid?
Like a tiny little braid.
She joining William Wallace's army in Scotland?
Right. Exactly. She had that kind of hairdo, but I think in the morning maybe had a French braid. But that's like the day she had that, like the hair was every direction. It was like.
Was that the day you texted her to be like, "Whoa, Mom's looking"?
It was like Monica hair with a tiny little braid in the back when Monica goes to the Caribbean, and so on Friends,
another television show where we believed our mom was on the show.
Yeah, in that episode for sure. So Mom comes down with this like frazzled hair. She's wearing some kind of sweatpant legging, and I am not kidding, Shai, a gigantic oversized zip-up hoodie Eagle sweatshirt. Like it reached her knees.
Okay.
And she comes down like that, and she's like, "Hi, guys." And I was like, "Hey, Mom." And I was like, "Okay." And in my head, I was like, I guess she's like pulling the whole, I live in like a super nice building, but I can wear whatever I want because I'm that cool. I was like, I'm not really sure what's happening here, because Mom is usually like really kind of put together, right? Yeah. Like if not like full makeup, but like
described as Lily said.
wait. So I'm like a bit surprised, but she seemed a bit stressed out. And we get up to the apartment, she seemed like she had like a day, like she was a bit overwhelmed. And then she like all of a sudden like freaks out that Becky's arriving. Like they could have just picked us up at the same time. Like a half hour later, she's like, "Roger, we have to go back to the airport. We have to get Becky. I'm going to get Becky." And she grabs her purse and she runs out the door. And I literally was like, you don't want to change? I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess she's rushing." She goes to pick up Becky. We all come home. We're all happy. Everything. Da, da, da. Becky and I are like hours later about to go to bed. And we're sitting on the couch talking. And Becky's like, I just feel like I'm a bit worried about Mom. And I was like, "Do tell." And she's like, she showed up to the airport like a homeless Eagles fan. And I was like, "Oh my God, I know." I was like, "Oh my God, I know. when my mom came down to the parking lot, my first thought was, you are underdressed for the parking lot at this apartment building. And the two of us just like cracking up and just like cracking mom jokes and just like basically ragging on mom. It was one of the funniest things that we've ever done. And the best is that, like, it's out of true love, because then we both separately told her about it the next day. Like, I go to mom and was like, oh my God, mom, I have to tell you, Becky and I laughed for a full hour about what you were wearing. Like, your whole scene yesterday. She looks at me, she goes, I know, your sister already told me. And I was like, I'm like, I can't believe she got to you first. I really wanted to tell you. And she's like, you don't understand, Lily. I had a really hard day. And I was like, I know. I'm sure you had like crazy work stuff, or like in your home office. She's like, no, I went out twice like that. And I was like, what?
I'm dying.
She's like, yeah, I didn't only go out once like that day like that. I went out twice.
But that's what happens also when you leave Montreal. In Montreal, you can't go out like that.
No.
Philadelphia, it's a different story.
Yeah. And so it was just, it was so funny. Like, we were so mean, but we got such joy out of it that we just were crying and laughing so hard.
Right, so
wait, and the next day, mom goes to Becky. The next day, mom goes to Becky. She's like, oh, Beck, I got to run out. I have a hair appointment. And Becky goes, why? Why would you have a hair appointment? And mom looks at her like, shut up, you bitch. Mikey's like, well, your hair looks so good. Why would you go get it done? It was so funny. Like, the joke just kept giving us so much material for like days. It was so good.
So I'll figure out a way to work in a joke on the WhatsApp chain. So to our loyal listener, I feel like we found our touchstone of mean again, and it's directed at mom, who we love the most. So on my other list, so we have on the subject of listeners. So one of our listeners is our cousin David in Miami, and he has written before to complain that we like The Shape of Water and Coco, and then he
that was the best message when he's like, I hated Coco.
Yeah.
You're the only one, dude.
Yeah. So I wanted to do a dramatic reading of the email chain between him and myself in the last 24 hours, mostly because it's hard to understand what's going on, but it also makes it funny. To describe our cousin David, he's brilliant. He's super loving and wonderful and supportive of all of our creative endeavors. And he's got like a zany, almost Will Ferrell-esque sense of humor. Yet, again, very sensitive, cries during Gladiator every time he watches it. So he often sends us feedback on the show or just sends me articles about random things. So I get an email with the subject line, Steven Soderbergh - Wikipedia. Okay? So it's subject line, Steven Soderbergh - Wikipedia. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hi, Shy, with a wave emoji. Again, old people are better at using emojis than me still. So there's like a hand waving, it looks like.
Maybe you can ask Alexa for some tips.
There you go. And then it says, hi, Shy, have heard of him?
Although you just called David old people.
Fair enough. Hi, Shy. Hi, Shy, with the wave. It's actually hi, wave, Shy, comma. Heard of him? Seen his flicks? Unsane. Not insane, unsane, with an exclamation point. David. And then a link to the Wikipedia page. So I write back and say,
Logan Lucky.
I write back and say, seen many of his movies. I'm 50-50 on them, which is true. I'm like, I love Soderbergh, but I'm 50-50 on like which movies I like and which I don't. Then he writes back a 2-word answer, okay? And his 2-word answer is the following 2 words: David Lynch.
But those are not the same person.
No, I know. And then I write back, huh? How did we get to David Lynch? And then he writes back, are you guys still podcasting? You're all the cutest. Roman Polanski. That's it, with a period at the end. I can't tell if he's signing it or if he's just blurting out names of directors.
David's actually also a poet, so he might be writing you little poems.
Oh, maybe I'm getting haikus. I better look at the syllables. Okay, so then I write back and I say, yes, I'm going to read your emails on the air. Have you been listening? We do it every week. And then he writes back, please use my nickname, Lechugita.
Is that his nickname? Could be.
I guess so. Does that mean small lettuce?
That's like a small lettuce.
Is that a nickname? And then he signs it, One Love You DBs. And then I say, the one love you DBs, what does that mean? And he writes back, Deebs. And then writes back again, Dweebs. And then I say, Deebs, Dweebs, what do these mean? And then I signed it, Steven Spielberg. No response. So
Well, that actually, I feel like, accurately sums up a conversation with Cousin David.
yeah. So anyways, that was one I wanted to read you guys. And we really do welcome notes and emails from people and tweets and things like that. And that one is quite a special one. And hopefully David will continue to send us stuff that we can read. And then last but not least, I wanted to talk a little bit about our childhood and how we grew up. We grew up in a French-speaking town. And as a result, all of the DVD boxes... Oh, sorry, we're packing the house up because we're going to do a renovation. And so I'm finding all of my DVD collection from the last 20 years. And I found a lot of DVDs from Montreal, and a lot of them have French titles on the front. Because in order to sell things in Quebec and in Canada, you have to have the French on the cover. So, the Little Mermaid is like La Petite Sirène, and... I don't know. Everything looks like La Grenouille et la Baleine to me, which, in case anybody who grew up in Montreal listening knows about that movie, the tadpole and the redhead or whatever it's called.
What about Barre-Bottine?
There you go. Anyways,
Billy Sebastian.
So everything had an A and lots of accents. So among the DVDs that I'm putting away is a DVD that I actually got recently, which is the DVD for the movie Grease. Now, if you're near a computer, are you near a computer?
Are you going to say, why does Grease have an accent?
Yeah. So,
is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting to it. Exactly. So that's exactly it.
I can't tell you.
So I'm looking at the cover, and I'm like...
Oh, is that just ours that had the accent?
No, wait. So my whole life, I've been looking
I think
Grease, the cover of the album, the cover of the logo for the movie Grease, with
oh
Sandy.
My God, it's just ours.
Sandy, and why is it spelled Grace or Grass or whatever?
I honestly,
why does it have an accent? But then I looked at my DVD and I said, no, I got this in the U.S. How does this have an accent over the E or the A? And it was one of these moments like a Rorschach test.
Oh my God, Becky's looking it up. It has it over like both E and A.
Right. But it's like a Rorschach thing. It's like one of those like optical illusions. Because as I'm putting the DVD away, I come to realize that that's not an accent.
Oh, it's
all
a car.
These years, it's the windshield of a car.
A car.
So for my entire life, I thought I was only seeing copies of the movie Grease from Montreal 100%. With the accent grave on the A or the E.
No, worse. I assumed that it was not just a Quebec thing. I assumed that the word Grease comes from like a French word or something.
Oh, like it was originally a French play, like La Cage aux Folles?
Right.
Yeah.
I always assumed that was like 100% normal. But because we grew up in a French-speaking place, we assumed it was like a grammatical thing, and it's not. It's just like the shadow of a windshield. Oh my God, John Travolta was so good looking.
That movie was awesome. I remember you guys saw that movie before me, and I remember you describing the plot to me. And the way Lily described it to me is there's a girl who goes on vacation, and she falls in love with a punk. And
I used the word punk.
Yeah, you used the word punk. And in my head, I imagined a guy with a shaved head and a big green mohawk. And in my head, I'm like, where did Mom get this movie to show the kids? And Grease, why does it? I was thinking of the country Grease. And then watching the movie, it was not a punk, it was a greaser. It was the Danny Zuko. Is that his name of his character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay, here's my question though about that movie, and you're an interesting person to ask because you show your kids wildly inappropriate movies.
I started watching this movie, and then we stopped. But anyways, go ahead.
But so you show your kids wildly inappropriate movies, like where people die and there's like all kinds of crazy shit that happens, and it's amazing how they watch them so young. Would you show them this movie? So
I think like the movies with. I generally believe, and I've said this before, that
because I definitely did not see like all the. Sorry to interrupt you. I definitely didn't see all the movies your kids saw at my age when I was little. But my parents showed me this movie.
Oh yeah, no, you saw this movie when you were like
I was 6.
8. Maybe 6,
No, or
yeah.
7,
Because I remember
7,
you. I
8.
remember you telling me the plot
They
of the movie.
started me young, and then I just watched it 1,000 times over till I was in college and understood that they were talking about condoms.
Oh yeah, I didn't even understand
Like I
that.
never understood anything about the sex stuff. So,
Well,
anyways,
I think that's one element of it, is that goes over a kid's head. We did start showing them the movie at one point, but they were like too young to even be interested in the songs. So they just kind of got bored and they stopped watching it. In general, my approach to movies is that if I'm actively watching a movie for them that might be a little bit of a stretch, like I watched Goonies with them recently, we're probably going to watch Pirates of the Caribbean soon, hopefully The Dark Crystal soon.
oof.
Those movies, I think I like to be actively engaged in watching it with them, and Allie too, and helping them understand the lessons from the movies. And they've become really good vehicles for having conversations with them about everything from death and right and wrong. And we often reference those movies, and I think Star Wars was probably one of the places we started. So I think
This could be a good movie about, protective sex.
no, I feel like there are other messages in this movie.
Besides,
Like, don't drop out of school. I think that's really important.
That's a good one. Definitely change your entire look and personality for your boyfriend.
Yeah, the end
That's
of the
really the
movie
best
really
ever.
is the end of the movie is very, very strange, because he takes off the Letterman jacket and goes back to his greaser ways, but she definitely does her look up all the way through to the final scene.
Well, I guess the point was that he was going to change for her and she was going to change for him. But then he was like, why would we be boring? Let's just both be cool. So I guess you could say it was sort of like a good message because they're meeting each other halfway. But
I guess so, but as I get older and more practical, I find myself rooting for the boring characters. Like Reality Bites, I've always rooted for Ben Stiller in that movie.
Don't tell people that, Shy. It's so embarrassing.
Even when I saw
really
it
embarrassing.
even when I
Don't
saw it
say
the
that
first
on
time, I'm
live
like, so what if he
podcast.
edited her movie? I'm like, her thing's on television. Why is she being such a baby?
You're like, you're on MTV, you stupid idiot. Just marry the guy. No, you can't fight Ethan Hawke.
He's
Please.
employed and he's nice, whereas like the other guy is like a complete loser
Are you going to
and
tell me,
not
like,
nice
in
to
The
her.
Notebook, you're also going to root for what's his face? Not Ryan
I'm-
Gosling, the other one?
Let's be clear.
You've never seen The Notebook?
I have no intention of ever seeing it. There isn't a trade you could make to get me to
I'm
see
going
that
to
movie.
say, I'm going to open up the floor to Tradesies. I would like the public to answer us and tell me what they think would be a good enough trade that I would have to watch to get you to watch The Notebook all the way through.
Yeah, but
and-
it has to be
and
something
to have you not cry.
you can't hold something hostage that you probably would watch anyway. You can't be like, I'm not going to watch.
No.
You have to.
Well, I'm saying, no, you think of one thing that I absolutely would never watch.
No, because
Ever,
I don't
ever,
even
ever.
want to open the door to seeing that movie.
Oh, so I have to do the work.
Yeah, this is all you. This isn't even one where I'm willing to have fun about it. Like, I'm not interested.
Okay. All right. It's such a good movie. I love that movie.
So, Beck.
No, Beck had to step out. It's just me and you.
Oh, okay.
I hate to break it to you.
We'll just keep rolling.
Yeah.
Well, then we won't talk about Outlander yet.
No. Oh my God. I will say, though, that, like, it takes such a turn at episode 7, and we can talk about it extensively when
Wait,
Becky comes
I have
back.
a question. I'm in episode 2, and I like it. But that's 5 more hours of television I have to watch before you and I believe you guys that it's going to get awesome, right? But that's 5 more hours of television I got to watch. Should we do like a spoiler alert here and you just tell me what happens so that should I skip to that point?
Outlander?
We said we were going to wait for you, but we said we are going to wait for you.
That's off. It's in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Becky just dropped her child
Hold on. Let
in
me
order to
explain.
talk.
It's not about Shy. It's not about what happens
Oh,
in
boy.
episode 7 that it's so good and then therefore you judge. It's that like what happens is that between 1 and 7, the buildup becomes so good that by the time you get to episode 7, you are like
Off to
on
the-
another level with
off
the
to the
show. But
races.
right, you're like, but each episode is still really good. It's just that like by 7 you're locked in.
I'm sorry, but I find that I will say that I find 1 to 7 is like, it's a lot of explanation, right? And then I find that after 7, it kind of the story just takes off. There's more action. I guess I would just say there's just more action. 1 to 7, there's not that much action, so it's a lot of. It's like a lot of storytelling. That Becky's not wrong. It's kind of for the arc of the whole show, important storytelling
Well,
because there's things that come back.
Okay, so So
But
basically,
after
like,
7, there's just a lot more action because there's like a fundamental thing happens in episode 7 that allows the show to like take off.
so essentially, we mentioned Outlander, and like the bat signal, Becky reappeared. So I think
Yes.
now's the time
Oh, no.
we get into the show.
100%.
So all right, so let's get into Outlander. So one of the games we play on our program is I Told You shows, and that's where you get somebody to watch another show, and if they do like it or love it, it's really if they love it, they come back on and they call you a genius, and you get an I Told You So victory. And Becky is the reigning champion on our show for sure, because while I'm not ready to go full I Told You So yet on Outlander, I like it, and I'm going to keep watching it.
I wonder if Becky will like it. That shy, Becky, dad shy. If shy will
You want
like.
to throw in any other? I mean, Mom always calls me Mario. So
Sorry, would you?
Which is her brother, by the way.
Such a brain fart. Do you think Shy will like as much as we do if he's a boy?
Yes, I do. I don't think he'll be as obsessed with it as the women in my life, where I literally have women calling me and texting me throughout the day and night to discuss this. I think what will happen, though, is that the like action and historical adventure and intensity and high stakes will get you really engaged. But I don't think you'll love it at the level that.
But I think the true hook for Shy is that Allie has to go like deep into the show. Allie's gotta have to love it, and it'll be fun for you to watch it with her.
She's 1 foot in, 1 foot out right now. So anyway, so Becky is the reigning champion. Lily has given her, and I Told You So. You do have to call her a genius, by the way.
Oh, you should genius, yeah.
And I agreed to watch it, and why don't we start off with my impressions of it? So I'm 2 episodes in. And 3 episodes in, and what I like most about it so far is sorry for those listening, the premise is that there's a time traveling nurse who has a husband in one time period, and then in a new time period seems to be falling in love with the best looking man ever in Scotland. And then
in Scotland, Shy, ever on television in the world.
And then there are various older men with mustaches and extraordinarily discomforting, like physical ailments that are plotting against each other and her. And
that's about accurate.
And it has a little bit of a Game of Thrones meets Pride and Prejudice, or Game of Thrones meets Downton Abbey vibe, as everyone said it would.
Downton.
It's
not downtown. Like
I don't know. Well, you know what? It would be better if it was. So I've started it. The thing I love most so far is the casting and the acting, because I believe everyone who says that this is going somewhere, although it's unclear where exactly it's going right now. But the actors that they chose, particularly to play the male lead who is her husband in one time period, and the sort of villain, assaulting, mean guy, psychopath, that guy, the actor that they chose, whose name completely escapes me right now, if you guys have it handy, he's like right in the, like the way he acts, he's right in the middle of sympathetic and man who is damaged by having worked in the war / just crazy enough that you'd be afraid to be alone and married to him. And I think that's just the perfect casting for what they seem to be conveying with the show. And then there's
Tobias Menzies.
Okay.
He's very good.
So he's fantastic. And then Graham McTavish plays one of the mustachioed, plotting old men of the wall. Dougal? He's Dougal, yeah. One of the watchers on the wall. He was in probably one of the only like 3 good parts of the Hobbit prequels. He was amazing as Dwalin, however you pronounce that name. And he's awesome. Again, mysterious, dangerous, but also I kind of want to get him to like I want him on the side of the characters, because I find him to be a very charismatic character, but I'm not sure if he's like totally villainous or ultimately someone whose grudging respect will be earned. So perfect actor for that type of part, and again, very compelling whenever he's on screen. The lead actress seems to be the right person for, again, where the character's going, but I'm not 100%, because she's not fully developed yet. I'm just not there with her yet. I think that what's going to make or break this show for me is not going to be the action or the historical stuff unless it really gets amazing. And it's definitely not going to be the like attractiveness factor. I actually find I can't believe you watched this show with Mom, because this is a very racy show, but in that like creepy, dirty way. Deadwood and Game of Thrones are like, blech. Like I don't like. There's always someone seems like just a little bit creepy in every sex scene on this show. No, what's going to work for me is the relationships. If the relationships are the kind that it seems to be, where people are just so deeply invested in are these characters going to end up together, then I'm going to go deep on the show, as I tend to on shows where there is a deep relationship, and that seems to be what they're building, and so I'm excited to see where that goes. Lil, what has made you fall in love with the show?
Episode 7. Enough said. Can't say anymore.
Okay, so anyone who's watching Outlander, episode 7, I'll watch all the way through to episode 7 and update people.
I would say that I could just sum it up by somebody came up to me, and this is so weird that now that we have a podcast, I think I have like more authority on recommended things to people, though it makes no difference. But all of a sudden I'm like, I have a podcast, let me recommend it. And so it's so obnoxious and ridiculous. And so
yes, we confirm that, by the way. Becky and I confirm that is obnoxious.
It's ridiculous. Obnoxious and ridiculous. And so I was with like a bunch of people that I didn't really know that well, and one of them says, "Oh, I have nothing left to watch on Netflix. I've watched everything," and I was like, "Okay, I have a podcast. Believe me, no, you haven't. Let me tell you about some shows." and so she's like, "What's a podcast?" I'm like, "I can't get into it right now." So then I just basically recommended a few things here and there, and then I was like, wait, what do you tell me what you like a chef? I was like, tell me what your tastes are. And she goes, I like a show that has some action and suspense, but it's basically about like an incredible impossible love that it's about an incredible impossible love that you want them to win, and it's incredible and amazing, and you're just so invested. And I was like, you have to watch Outlander. I was like, I think now that she kind of put it into words for me, it made me realize that's what I love about it.
Cool. All right. Moving on. Another I Told You So. Well, I hope I'm going to get one now. I'm just waiting for it. Even though it really goes back to Mom, who was the first person to watch this show. Is Lily finally finished a recent favorite, Orphan Black? Let's just quickly go. Lily, why did you love Orphan Black?
It took me a while to get into it, but in the end, I didn't realize that what I would love so much about it is the relationships. It's hard to put into words because the acting is so phenomenal that I was constantly blown away by it. I don't think that show gets enough credit for how amazing the acting is. And so I think what I loved about it was to see not so much the story. I didn't really care about like I wonder who's the real bad guy. I never cared about that. It was more about what are these people going to mean to each other? What kind of damage are they going to do to each other? How are they going to survive together? I don't know. It was, I guess, all about the relationships.
That's really true, and I think you touched on something. The plot of the show, while interesting, I kind of really remember like
it doesn't matter
who was doing what to who and which clone was being stolen. The genes,
right? The Castros and the Litas, like
You're just repeating what I'm saying, Lily. No, the other thing to know about this kind of show is that it's one of those, it's like 5 seasons long, and each season has those twists on the twists on the twists where, like, at a certain point, you're like, what? How could that not be the real bad guy? There's another layer deeper and another layer deeper. There's always, like, one, it's like, oh, you think you've solved the mystery, but then there's one more layer deeper bad guy. And that's, like, a very specific type of plot line that the show has, but that's not really why you're watching. You're watching because of the relationships, the character development, and how brilliantly it's acted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way I sum that feeling up is that when the show ended, and I'm not going to talk a lot of details about the end, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I would easily watch a new show with a totally different premise, but with all the same characters. So, like, they run a cruise ship, sort of like our Breaking
100%.
Like,
they open a bakery. They all have to work at the same restaurant. I'd watch a reality show about them, and they're not real.
And they're all played. More than half of them are played by the same person.
Right. and I don't want to sound like pathetic, but I kind of feel like shy when I hold on. I'm talking. Let me give you the phone. Sure, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. I don't want to like sound like a loser and like kind of sound like you do when you talk about a show when it finishes. But like, I really genuinely miss these people. Like, I miss them. I enjoyed like hanging out with them at night, like every few nights or whatever. Like knowing that like I get to see what happens to them. And when it ended, I was like, but I don't want to never see them again.
Yeah.
Also, just a
That's
side
pulling a shy.
just a sidebar. I was reading one of those like BuzzFeed like 19 things you didn't know about your favorite TV shows, right? Like on a stupid list. And one of them, which is not going to ruin anything, the scene where Donnie and Allison are burying a body in their garage. Remember, they have to like dig up the garage and then like re-cement it. Apparently, that whole thing was improvised. All the dialogue was improvised.
Oh my, that's amazing.
Yeah,
because it's not a comedy and it has very funny moments.
Yeah, and then she like carves the heart into the cement because she's Allison.
Also, I will say I like this show so much. Like, Friends, to me, nothing touches Friends as like a touchstone show in my life, like in high school and all that. And I love that show with like a dear affinity. But I'll be like, oh, you're being such a Ross right now, or like Monica. You know how you could say that because you know these characters so well from Friends. I often am like Jose, or like my husband. I'm often like, oh, I'm being such an Allison right now. And like, or he'll be like, you're acting like Allison, or, stop being such a Helena or whatever.
No one ever calls us a Cosima.
No one ever calls us a Cosima, who's a brilliant scientist. But yeah, I can like relate to them on certain levels. The characters are amazing. Some of the best written characters, I think, on television.
So I have a question. If you were, who was your MVP of that program?
Allison.
Really?
I think so. I love Allison. Oh, MVP, most valuable player? Helena. No, I guess Helena.
Helena's easy. I thought Allison's a really interesting choice.
I would say like Helena, and like I would have to switch between the two of them because I think like the most annoying person on the show is the actual main character.
Oh, really?
She's the worst. Like, I like her, but I'm like, she's so annoying. She's so selfish. Like, I find her a bit infuriating. But it's fine because she's like a badass, so I don't mind. She's very brave. But I find it's the other ones, like besides the scientist, it's the other ones that kind of help keep the pieces together. And like, I don't know. Yeah. Allison or Helena.
Beck?
My MVP?
And I know we've played this before, but I don't remember what you and I said. I mean, before this podcast.
I don't remember.
I think we all said Helena because she's so crazy and awesome.
I feel like Helena because she does evolve the most. But no, I feel like Sarah. Rachel's the bad. I think Sarah because she's the center of it. She really is the driving. No, I probably said Helena when we first talked, and you said Sarah shy. I'm gonna stick with Helena.
I would say Sarah is something I would pick because ultimately she is the one that connects all of those different characters, even though at times she's frustrating because they need her to be frustrating for you at times because so much of the story revolves around her decisions, right? Like she's the one who pushes the story. And of the non-Sestra characters,
Donnie.
And so what's amazing about these answers is that for people who are going to now go and watch the show, and I hope you do, we're watching.
So while we were doing this, season, I did a quiz and I got Sarah.
Oh.
Okay. So
hold on.
I wasn't. And we know because he just said Sarah.
But then he did a quiz saying that he is a Sarah.
So on top of that, no. I mean,
what I'm saying is that for people who are going to now go and watch the show, you're going to meet Helena and you're going to meet Donnie and you're going to be like, ugh.
Oh, yeah. At first, they're terrifying.
Then it
horrible.
just goes to show how amazing this show is that from season 1 to season 5 that we, like, hands down say of the non-Sestras, Donnie is the best,
Yeah, and I also want to say about this show that I have to give
I like Donnie, but I also like her brother, whose name I forget right now.
Felix.
Felix. I
No,
think
he's
Felix is
great.
pretty awesome.
He is, but I think Donnie makes one of the biggest evolutions of character. So it's like more noticeable.
He's the most interesting evolution. That's true. But the loyalty of Felix to her and Felix's relationship with the guy at the morgue, really, like those are little things that matter to me a lot.
Yeah. And like the fact that like you're always seeing him painting, but like it actually, evolves to that storyline that's like a side storyline. I do want to say something really funny that like one character disappears halfway through this show, and it's because they got on Game of Thrones, and I think it's amazing how they literally. I think it's amazing how they were just like, "Oh, where is he?" And Sarah just goes, "Oh, he went over there." He went to the other room, and then he never gets brought up again, and it's because he was cast on Game of Thrones. And so the other thing I want to say quickly, if people are still listening at this point about this. And I do think, Shay, you need to, like, at the beginning of this episode, be like, from minute this to minute that, we go deep on Orphan Black. So
I love how you assign me tasks, like with already the amount of time that I spend editing and putting stuff together. Like, Shay, I really want you to go and give time markers for everyone.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like we should move on to the next topic.
That's a good idea. So now this was part of a Tradesy. Becky, do you want to update me on anything you've watched, or do you want to save that for another episode?
Well,
because we're running out of time.
My update is that I've watched 4 episodes of Chuck. Right now, I find it to be delightful. Like, at the end of the day, I'm like I'm just like not in a great mood, and I just like want to put it on to enjoy. I wouldn't say, because I'm only 4 episodes in, so I'm not like obsessed with the story and I need to know what happens. But like right now, it's just like an enjoyable 40 minutes to spend to like cool down. So that's how I'm feeling. I'll keep you posted as I get deeper.
Season 2 is where the stakes and the character evolution really starts to happen more. One thing I'll note just to keep out is that particularly in season 2, it has some of the best music choices for a TV show since like those great episodes of Scrubs.
It does. Oh yeah, that was great. It does have good music so far. I do appreciate that, and I do feel probably like it would be going back and watching Scrubs. It does feel a little bit dated, but that doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. But that doesn't mean it doesn't take away. In fact, that for me boosts the enjoyability.
Yeah, it's like that mid 2000s kind of show, like when The Office was in its heyday.
Yeah,
that kind of period.
Yeah.
Okay. Lil, you wanted to do a pitch imperfect on the Krypton trailer. Let's do that, and then we can wrap up.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, all I can say, here's what I can say.
Here's what it's about. Who cares? That's what it's about.
So I love sci-fi.
I'm already over my own idea. I just watched the trailer again with Becky, and I was like, ugh, why did I think this was a good idea?
I love the Sci-Fi Network. I like that they invest in shows that people would not normally... wouldn't survive on a network, but they can do these kind of quirky sci-fi movies that are often mostly filmed on like a soundstage in Canada. But they have a lot of fun with their programs. Like I really love like Winona Earp is on Sci-Fi, and that's a terrific show. I hope you guys pick that up at some point. But that show seems like they were like, let's take the most boring part of the super boring Superman movie that came out a few years ago and turn it into a TV show that may never end. Again, this is my point about prequels. I feel like we're running out of evidence that prequels are a good idea. We're just better not knowing certain things. We just
to our fans out there, I'd like you to tweet me what is a good prequel.
You know what? Like we don't always need backstory, you know.
No, back to Breakin'. Right, sometimes you just have us have just give us the good parts.
Just give us the Breakin'. Just give us the good parts.
What's
but like what's a
good prequel?
Wasn't there like a Terminator sequel prequel?
Oh yeah, the Terminator Salvation is not good.
Right. To the Twitter sphere out there, I would like to know what is a good prequel, because I can't think of one right now.
I mean, I really like of these Star Wars prequels. Revenge of the Sith is a cool movie, even if that whole prequel thing is flawed. And if you argue that Rogue One is a prequel, it's pretty good. But again, it's
not a prequel. So
it's a sidebar. It's a sidebar. It's a sidebar.
It's true. It is a spinoff, and it's also I like Rogue One, but it's not a story I feel like I'm like, I really needed to know that.
Or maybe it's a prequel adjacent.
Yeah, prequel adjacent.
You know how much I love that word.
He loves adjacent.
Can we actually, on the note of what we're watching, I actually want to talk about what I'm listening to, because I've been listening to a few new podcasts, and through this podcast, I got a hot tip on a show I've discussed several times on
Super.
this podcast.
Hit it.
So
Say the word podcast one more time.
Podcast.
Yeah, and then use it like Lily uses it to pretend you're an authority on things. Like, Lily, do you want to start a medical podcast and start just offering people medical
You know
advice?
what? It makes you feel really, really important when you say, look, I have a podcast.
I think it's because when you tell other people you have a podcast, they don't realize it's the type of thing you could start just like for free. That
No, I
doesn't have to
actually
live
think
anywhere.
most people think
that,
that
like,
it is.
you have-
I think most people think it's a step below Wayne's World. I don't think anybody looks at it and is like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" No, I think most people are like, "Great."
I agree to disagree.
I disagree. I think when you say I have a podcast, people think that like you work for a media group who has hired you to speak with authority on
well,
subjects.
you do. You are part of the pancake, media
Media conglomerate.
enterprise conglomerate. Yeah.
Okay, so I've been listening to a little bit of. I haven't listened to all the episodes, but a couple episodes of Armchair Expert, which is Dax Shepard's podcast.
Ooh,
And it's
you
got
had
a
me at
really
Dax
cute
Shepard.
premise. What?
You had me at Dax Shepard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was a great suggestion for the plane.
Yeah, love me a little Dax Shepard. And the one episode that I was really excited to listen to was he had Adam Scott on, and it's a really fun one because they talk a lot about their early careers and like first breaking into the industry, which was awesome. But then Adam Scott was there to really also talk about Ghosted, and the hot tip I got about Ghost. I mean, it's not really a hot tip. He was just talking about it on a podcast. Anyone could have heard this. Is that they have hired new writers and new showrunners, and they're revamping the whole show because even though it was cute, it wasn't quite working, and they knew it wasn't quite working, so the network gave them a chance to kind of go back to the drawing board and start it over. So even though they've done their first initial, I don't know, like 10 episodes or something, they're going to go and do a whole new batch of like the second half of season 1, but slightly different.
Because I bet people saw, they're like, how can a show with Adam Scott and
Craig Robinson
where they fight ghosts not be awesome?
That's exactly what happened, and it was like, and so anyways, I think it's a really interesting podcast episode to listen to hear Adam Scott explain why it wasn't quite working and about being given the opportunity to try again.
That's
So,
amazing, and I'm glad
very
Fox is
excited
doing
about
that.
that.
Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
Yeah.
me really happy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm listening to and will be watching.
All right, Lil, how about you?
I'm watching Outlander. I'm watching Mozart in the Jungle, which I love. That is like having like an ice cream at the end of the day.
It's like having a little sundae. It's like a little sundae, and Gael Garcia's your little cherry on top.
What's
Yep,
that- is
Gael
that like-
Garcia's a little cherry on top to the sundae at the end of
Is
the
that like-
It's like
Is that like about like a composer who gets like on a shipwreck or something? What's that about?
no, that is
a
a
really good premise, though.
it is a good premise. I think there's that famous movie
It's
about
better,
that.
more interesting than Krypton.
Yeah, for
A
sure.
family
It's
of
about,
composers.
It's
Desert
about no, it's about a composer, like a very, very famous composer who's hired a Mexican composer who's very young and charismatic, and Gael Garcia Bernal can do anything. That guy's awesome, and he gets hired to be the conductor for the New York Symphony, and it's just based on somebody's book about a real experience of being a professional musician, a freelance oboist, professional in New York City, and kind of they took from that book, they created this premise.
Is
And
Becky
says that
talking? Because
she's
it sounds like
standing
she's
above me. Okay, right now she's standing above me, talking at me and interrupting me at the same time.
because I can't hear her.
My baby.
Okay, just calm down and step away. She says that our cousin Jacqueline, who's David's from the beginning of this podcast, who you mentioned, his daughter, who's a professional violinist, knows a lot of these people from
wow,
the
okay.
actual story.
That's interesting. I this sounds like incredibly dull, but I'm glad to know it's a good show.
You know what? It's 20 minutes. I think the episodes are like maybe 30 minutes. I don't even think they reach 30 minutes, and it's adorable and it's super fun. I'm not saying I'm not doing an I Told You So or a Tradesies. I'm not saying you need to watch it. I'm just saying that that's what I've been watching.
All right,
It's
well,
like
that's
candy.
cool. I'm glad you're
It's
enjoying
like
it.
having a quick bite of candy, and you end up literally you can sit and watch 5 in a row, and I think they're 20 minutes long.
That makes
It's
me really
cute.
happy. Okay.
It has Bernadette Peters. It's got what's his name from Clockwork Orange, Malcolm Isn't he from Clockwork? Yeah, Malcolm McDowell.
Oh
maybe?
yeah.
He's fabulous. He's so good. Bernadette Peters. There's some like Lola Kirk. There's some really good actors in it. So it's fun.
Cool.
So
All right.
watching that. Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, all right. I am.
Oh, wait. I think you owe Steph and I told you so with the catastrophe.
I've said it like on the last 3 shows. I said I'm watching Catastrophe, and I like it.
Just kidding.
Do you want to thank cousin? Do you want to say hi to cousin Vanessa again?
Sorry. It's like baby brain. But I will say that Amanda, my friend, took up I'll give you back the phone in a second. Amanda, was a good friend of mine, loves TV. I really want her to watch Outlander and then come on as a women's studies expert. She's like has a master's in women's studies, and I want her to give her perspective on it. I thought we could like do an educational episode about that.
That's great. Amanda's incredibly polite. So the impolite lobby for the podcast they might need her to be a little bit rude to us.
Fine. But I will say that she was not polite about you yesterday when I talked to her. And she had a few things to say about you not liking Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Whoa. No spoilers. We're going to do Marvelous Mrs. Maisel in 2 episodes. Let's not.
Okay. I'm just saying that she had a bone to pick with you.
Well, everyone can come and pick that bone with me one by one.
I love that we get complaints. Wait, who complained about us being nice? Just say it. Just say it on the air.
I'll tell you now. So let's see. What am I watching? So last night, first of all, we had the most incredible musical experience. We went with the kids to box seats at the Strathmore to see Weird Al Yankovic's current tour, where he is not performing all of the traditional parodies, but he's actually performing his original songs.
You can't hear Becky being mean to you. And I'm just putting in all the mean stuff because somebody...
What's she saying?
She's sitting there going, oh, now we're going to be here for another 20 minutes.
No. I'm just going to say that it was a show for fans where he was sitting on a stool, that it was just the band, no costumes, playing deep cuts and talking to the audience, and he was incredibly gracious. Can
you explain the expression deep cuts in this particular instance to us?
A deep cut is a song that would be deep on an album that you wouldn't necessarily listen to unless you listened to that whole album. It's a reference to when you couldn't jump around on a CD. Exactly, like a hidden gem.
Gem on an album.
So he played, for example, The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. The kids were bouncing off the walls. I've been waiting since I was 9 years old to hear him perform that live. It was...
You have to tell Adam Goldberg this.
It was absolute.
He needs to know.
It was an absolute highlight moment of my musical life to see that. He played, and he was just incredibly gracious and nice to the audience, which he always is. But in this case, he talked a lot more because he wasn't doing costume changes and stuff. And then the opening act was a comedy from Emo Phillips, the guy who's Mr. Butterfingers in
UHF. Amazing.
And so that was cool. He was funny. So Weird Al, amazing. I don't think there's many more dates on the tour, but I think people should, if he does this kind of tour, don't get hung up on. He does play a few of his classic parodies, kind of in short, funny ways, but it really showcases the great musicianship of that band, and it's terrific. So that's kind of what I'm going to.
And you said he did a nice Tom Petty tribute.
Oh yeah, and then for his encore, he played Tom Petty's Refugee, and I'm sure that was in tribute to Tom Petty and who
I'm sure it was.
No, I believe he was a fan of Tom Petty. Like
Becky goes, it was for Bruce Springsteen.
It's for Prince and David Bowie.
You just keep like handing these tests on a platter. I think this person's gonna be like, okay, tell Lily to dial it back.
No. I think people. I think if we're not gonna have a guest, people want to know that you guys are zinging.
Okay.
And then I'll just cut to some shout outs and say I want to shout out to a fellow on Twitter. At Gato1Dog, Gato.
I tweeted at him to ask him particularly like what the explanation is of that handle, but I don't know if he got back to me.
I don't know if he did.
Like he's telling me he did. I don't know how to check my Twitter. I don't. I literally still find just pieces of conversations, and I can't find the original root.
Well, either way.
No, let me read it for myself.
I want to shout out to Gato.
It's like a treasure hunt.
To Gato1Dog, who is an 80s, 90s kid. Has the most amazing Thundercats tattoo I've ever seen that he posted online. And recently, this is where we know this person could even be a long-lost member of our family. He posted a GIF, and I'm going to say GIF, not GIF, of Walter Matthau in Dennis the Menace when he says, tastes like wood and paint.
And paint. That I cannot tell you how many times I repeated that. Where did you see this GIF?
On Twitter. You have to follow Twitter.
Oh.
And he posted it, and it was just so amazing because I know in our family we love Walter Matthau, and number two, we all loved that Dennis the Menace movie, specifically that scene, which I thought was only iconic to the three of us who had a VHS of it that we used to watch in the country house basement. But apparently,
that movie's so excellent. They just don't make movies for kids like that anymore.
No, they don't. And they apparently... So anyways, this person has been really cool and fun to interact with. People should follow him. And so that's my shout out this week. Lily, where can people follow you on social media?
Chichi K. Gomez on Twitter.
Beck?
If you tweet at me, maybe that'd be awesome. It'll take like a few days for me to find it. My sister has to tell me that you did, so...
Beck, where can people follow you? And
I'll hand the phone to Becky.
It's amazing.
Paper BK Princess on the Twitter and the Oat blog where she makes the food.
I just am so annoyed that like I'm sitting here nursing my baby, being a good mother, and Lily is too lazy to move the 2.5 feet to come sit next to me so I can participate in the second half of the podcast.
No, we heard you.
Oh, Paper BK Princess.
And what's on the blog this week?
What's on the blog? Janine is putting up. She's got 2 new recipes on deck. I don't even know what they are because I haven't proofread them yet, but there's going to be a new one up tomorrow. And then Lily and I are working on an oatmeal cookie recipe that is going to be something you can really diversify. So we're going to give you like the basic for a super healthy oatmeal cookie, and then from that you can use your imagination and get really creative with it. So those are. Mm-hmm.
That just leads me to, you should put Mom's oatmeal cookie recipe on, because there's 2 points I want to make about that. Number one, those cookies are amazing, but they've never came out the same ever in any batch. Like sometimes there's like weird granules of sugar that get in between your teeth, and sometimes they're really chewy. They're a weird mix of salty and sweet.
Instapot recipe next. Oh my god! Oh my god!
But then also,
hold on. I just need to. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I want to talk about the time before we went to the RV trip, and Mom made us quote unquote healthy oatmeal bars, and then I looked at the ingredients, and it was like that episode from Parks and Rec where they have the Sweetums health bars that are like 6 servings of 900 calories each because they were all sugar.
So to bookend the show with another mom story, at the end of the day where she was walking around like a homeless Eagles fan, she went to go make us all dinner, which is of course, so sweet and wonderful. She's our mom. She's a great cook. Hold on, I'm gonna pass this up. Take the baby. I don't know, she's crying. And she's exhausted, like we said, but she bought a brand new Instapot where, if you don't own one, it's very useful. I do recommend. It's basically like an electric pressure cooker. And so it's like this giant electric device, and then inside of it is a pot that you put all your ingredients in, and then you seal it and it cooks it all, right? So I'm kind of walking her through, calling out to her ingredients she should chuck in the pot, and she puts everything in the pot, the chicken and the sauce and the wine and the potatoes and everything that's going to all cook up together really nicely. And she goes to start the machine, and all of a sudden she just starts cursing in Spanish. and I'm like, what did you do? She never actually put the pot inside the machine and was just throwing the raw ingredients, like literally including raw chicken
onto the
and
heating
red
element?
wine, into the machine, onto the electrical parts.
That's amazing. That's a good note to end on. All right, so you can follow me at pancake 4 table, pancake 4 table on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Vero. You can follow this podcast or subscribe to this podcast by going to FridayNightMoviePod.com or share it with somebody. Leave a review on iTunes or any of the other cool podcasting places. We're now available in more and more places. We're available on Google Play right now for Android users and on Stitcher. So that's pretty cool, and hopefully some more platforms coming soon. If you want to send us an email, and you don't already have our personal emails, like Cousin David, pancake@pancake4table.com is a good place to email. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll cue the theme music by What Does It Eat right now. Dance.
As we go out on their theme music and we're dancing, Shy, how you doing?
Stop. It's a little late for that.
No, it's never too late.
I'm fine.
You're fine. Okay, good. All right. We'll see
Bye.
you soon.
I love you guys. Next episode, we will be in person together. It's going to be amazing.
Good.
Special guest star, mother of your children.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Special guest star will be the first spouse. Allie will be our guest star for the next episode. We're going to talk all things Allie related.
So we're just gonna talk about Love Actually and the holiday for like 2 hours.
I have a plan.
All right, but it will obviously include.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. There's going to be some drama.
All right, and salad with no dressing. What? He's a liar. That's what I have to say. All right.
All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye. Now you're just holding it up to your. You have to hold it in between so we share it.
Or when you're talking, you keep it, and when I'm talking, I keep it.
No, it's not a conch shell. Okay, just hold it in between the two.
I hope you were recording that. Did you get that?
I hope that the result of this is not one of you dropping a giant rock on the other one's head.
What?
Why? What is that?
Lord of the
that what
Flies
they do when
reference.
they?
How is it that I'm referencing a book and you guys aren't?
I never read that
Oh, I
book.
never read it.
Well, I didn't read the book either, but I saw the movie.
It's the worst. Okay, let's start.